LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Conversations with Lydia. My name is Lydia Khalil. Thank you again for joining, and for people who've watched consistently since the program went out. I really appreciate the love, the support, and you making time out of your day or evening even to watch the program. Today, as you can see, I'm wearing pink. And unless you're living on a different planet, you would know that October is Pink Month. And what does the pink mean? It means that we are remembering people with breast cancer. We're bringing awareness. We're raising money. We're letting people know that this is a disease that is with us, but people are overcoming it with support, with help, with research. As we watch the program, 1 in 8 women will encounter it. Not only women, men do have breast cancer, but also what I want you to bear in mind as the program goes on. The statistics say that in every 10 minutes, a woman hears the news that she has cancer. So by the time we finish this program, 8 women probably would have heard that news that they have cancer. So I want you to watch, listen, join the campaign for breast awareness. Today I've got a lady who is going to share her journey with us so that you can sometimes, it's good to be able to put a name to something. And I'm glad that she's chosen to do that. I'm going to welcome Ego.
Hi, Lydia.
Hi, Ego. Thank you for choosing to share your journey. I know loads of women go through what you've been going through, and some of them keep it as a secret, but you've chosen to share. Okay. I'm going to read a little bit about you. We'll talk, and then we'll get into your journey. Okay. Ego Obi is a senior technical strategist. Ego is passionate about technology and its application to achieve global impact and practical transformation. For the last 25 years, Ego has led several technical innovation incentives across many sectors, including global teams across 6 continents, some of which would include global internet interface solutions in emerging markets, mergers and acquisitions, technological integration strategies, financial systems, solutions, architecture, and deployment. In her professional and personal life, despite many instances of adversity, Ego exemplifies perseverance, resilience, and these qualities fuel her passion for creating value for others and inspiring them as life, business, and a career mentor, whilst being inspired by other leaders within her organization and global thought leaders. Ego is an engineering senior program manager at Google UK, in addition to being a wife, a mother, thought leader, success mindset facilitator, doctoral candidate, and the author of More Than Just My Hair, Journeying Through Cancer, Choosing Faith Over Fear. Welcome again, Ego. You know, before we get into your journey, I want to know how a woman gets into this techie world, because like, what made you choose that path?
So firstly, I'd like to say thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to actually be able to share my story and my story, I would say. But I actually didn't start out as a technical person. My background is in finance. I'm actually a qualified accountant, but I always had a flair for systems, and I love to take things apart and put them back together. So maybe I was meant to be an engineer. I don't know. I love Lego growing up, and when my son was younger and he would get into Lego, it was an opportunity for me to for the inner child of me to come out, right? So I love to buy him Kinects and Lego, and that was an excuse. But I always had an interest in systems. So my career started as a systems accountant, and I realized that I was more interested in the system side of things than the finance. So I was the bridge between like the IT teams and the finance team. And I kind of got into financial systems implementations, solutions design, and then I went a step further into like internet infrastructure design, strategy, and all of that. So I enjoy it.
Probably a trailblazer for young ladies who want to go into that world where I would think would be full of men, but it's good to know that.
Absolutely. I think yes, the focus, the STEM focus, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, is more girls are actually getting into that, and actually need to add that growing up, math was my favorite subject. So
hence the accounting.
Exactly.
Oh, good. Thank you again. I think we'll go straight to the journey because we could be here for a long time just sharing. And we see this cancer word everywhere. I think I read somewhere that 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people at some point will be told that. But when you hear it, it's a big word.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about how the journey began and how you got to hear that diagnosis?
Okay. Yes. So firstly, I'd say cancer is a word, not a sentence. And a lot of the time through my journey, I actually did say it's not a death sentence, because people hear the word cancer and fear immediately grips people. So the journey actually started. I was invited to have a mammogram. I think I was invited when I was 50. However, I was working abroad. I was in the States at the time. So, I had the GP letters and I was traveling a lot with work. So I couldn't make the appointment. I could have done it in the US when I was living there. However, work and life, I just kind of prioritized that. I had no reason to believe I was at risk. Anyway, last year, October last year, less than a year ago, actually, I was invited, September, I was invited for my first mammogram. And I was working in London at the time, and my GP is based in Manchester. I had supposed to be in Manchester, so I thought I'll just kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Came to the appointment, and I was told to come back. I got the results a few days, or I got a phone call a few days later to say I need to come back for another mammogram. I did ask why, and I was told, because it's the first time that I'm having it done, they need a baseline. So I had to go back for a biopsy and another mammogram. And I was told to come back for the results in a week. Thinking back now, I think there was indication that, I had breast cancer, or there was a tumor, but I wasn't told at the time. So at that point, I actually didn't think anything of it. So I showed up a week later, and fortunately, a friend of mine, Fortune, drove with me to Manchester. And as soon as I I was called into the doctor's room. A nurse followed behind. And at that point, although I didn't know, I knew.
Yeah, yeah, there was something about the way she came in. Yeah,
came in, sat down, and the oncologist said it. Triple negative, stage 1 breast cancer.
Okay, so do you think, because when we hear this, sort of our mind just, I can imagine just like buzzes and like, no, they can't be talking. They really can't be talking about me. And what, like, did you think, oh, if I had done the mammogram earlier, I wouldn't be sitting here? Or
actually, no, I didn't. I'm very matter of fact, and I take things literally. So I didn't have any cause to believe that I had breast cancer or any form of cancer. I'd never experienced anyone in my family or friends. The only one I remember was my friend Layla's mom many years ago.
Yes.
That's the closest. So I had no reason to believe that was the case.
Okay.
So yeah, I had no reason to believe that was the case.
Yeah. And I think when we, get these mammogram letters, especially people of faith, we just like take it for granted. This kind of stuff doesn't happen to me. I've been praying for so long. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. So definitely, our favorite portion script, the quote is, "It is not my portion." So how did you reconcile, God allowing this thing to happen to you? Because I know you're a committed Christian, and how, you get this really big thing given to you, and like, how do you like go back and say, hello,
what happened?
What happened?
So actually, before I left home, before I left for the appointment, when I was praying that morning, my prayer was that if it was good, because I have to be realistic. Good things, bad things happen to good people and vice versa, right? And the fact that I'm a Christian doesn't mean that I'm exempt from, from tragedy or adversity, right? So my prayer that morning was, if it's good news, give me the right level of gratitude, because if it's good news, it's like, whew, thank God for that. But let me not take that moment for granted. So that was the first. And then the second was, if it's bad news, give me the strength and the grace to take the news, right? So, and that's exactly what happened. So when I walked in, I actually wasn't afraid. Although I knew it could be 50-50, could be good news, it could be bad news. So when I walked in, I knew, as I said, that it was, even before I was told. And when I was told, I was, the feeling, if I could describe it, it felt like a vacuum cleaner was put in my lungs and just sucked out all the air, right? I felt deflated and shocked, really. And, I think one of the things I thought about as well, rather than God, why me? Because I never go down that path. I've experienced some other forms of adversity, but I never asked that question. I remember one time, my mom said to me, when I went through severe illness, she said to me, you can't say that, because if not you, then choose someone else. I could never do that, right? So the one thing that came to mind, though, was I did everything. I've lived a healthy life. I eat well, I exercise, I love my sleep, I love food, I eat food. So how comes I could not reconcile that? That's the thing I actually couldn't reconcile.
So it had nothing to do with God disappointing you. That's what I'm hearing.
No. I never. No, that's never how I see things, because I see test and trial sometimes as a way to build strength and character.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how I've kind of approached adversity in my life.
Yes, and I like the fact that you said God. There's the scripture I quote it all the time, which is that rain falls both on the just and the unjust. And I think sometimes we almost make out as if a Christian isn't supposed to have adversity, but it's in adversity that our faith builds.
Yeah,
and we can only triumph if we have adversity. So I think with that mindset, it was easy to say, okay, God has permitted this thing now. Let's see him do what he does best. Okay.
Exactly.
And when I was reading your book, what I found interesting, because a lot of times we make assumptions how people get cancer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You either say it's genetics, or we can get judgmental and say, the person smoked a lot and they didn't exercise, drank a lot of Coke, and then, ate rubbish food, and that's why they are here. And even I would dare say that sometimes Christians might even see it as a form of judgment. Yeah.
Yes.
There must have been something wrong that they didn't do, that God, didn't tick off in God's list. But what I found interesting was that there was no sort of concrete indicator why you had it. There was nothing you could directly point out, or the oncologist could say this, but this was the reason why.
Right. Oh, no, they did speculate. So, like I said, when I first heard, I was shocked because I felt deflated, as I said, because of the way I live, and healthy, all the things you mentioned. I don't do any of those. I love my coffee. But I know that coffee cannot be the cause. So not in my case anyway. But one of the first questions, so after I was told, and I just listened to the oncologist explain, the kind of breast cancer that I have, triple negative, stage 1. And the first question I asked her was, how long do you think I've had it? And what is the likely cause, right? And her response to me was, it couldn't have been in your body for too long. She said about 6 months, or maybe over 6 months. And she believed it was as a result of either stress or personal trauma. I tend not to get stressed about things. I'm usually quite calm. And I vocalize when I'm going through anything. I talk about them. And fortunately, my family, great listeners. My husband would listen to anything I have to say very calmly and offer wise counsel, or my siblings, or my son, or even my friends. But I could actually relate to personal trauma, because I was diagnosed 4 months after my mom died. And 6 months before that, so my mom died in June 2019. 6 months before that, my sister died, December 2018. And 6 months before that, June 2018, my dad died. So within the course of a year, I lost 3 very close people to me. So I can understand that, it was, shock to my body, and that's just how my body processed it. It could have been something else, but the fact that she mentioned personal trauma, even though I didn't tell her what had happened, I kind of believe that was the cause.
So it's, I guess, in a way, it's just bringing awareness of all these things that could be triggers that make our body react in a particular way. So some of it we won't be able to control, because we can't control how these things impact us. And to have lost three members of your family must have been a tough year. Tough.
It definitely was. It was. And something I've said to a number of people is the experience of cancer and its treatment far outweighs triple bereavement.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing. As much as I actually got through it, it's the hardest thing I've ever had to deal with. But I'm grateful that I actually came through.
Yes, because I think it was, in my world, we'd probably call it triple trauma, because it was one bereavement after you had probably not processed your dad, and then your sister. Oh no, I think it was your mom first.
My dad,
your
sister.
dad, your sister, and then your mom. So it was like, because grief takes a long time to process and sort of come to terms with. And I think even when people come and, they're really grieving, I say, look, this is something that we can't replace. It's not like you lost a house you can't buy. This person isn't coming back. But we want to try to make life bearable, manageable, even good again without them. But it takes time to get to those three stages where it's okay, where it's manageable, and then when it can be good again. But it looks like you didn't even get a chance to do any of that.
And in fact, I was still in counseling, bereavement counseling, when I got the news. So I had to see my bereavement counselor the last time, and I told her, I can't continue because of what I've just been told. So yeah, it was pretty tough.
That's more than tough. That was brutal. Okay. Also, let's go back to talking about today. When did you make a decision? Because triple negative, I know, is they do all the tests to find something. Do you want to let's talk about what it means to be triple negative, because if people haven't really read about breast cancer, they might not know what some of these terms mean.
Yeah, so basically it's to do with our hormones and the lymph nodes, and if it wasn't treated immediately, it had the chance of spreading really quickly. And I think triple negative breast cancer is actually common with people of color.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yes. Okay. Now, I guess you get the news. They give you the odds, and you had to have chemo before.
Yes,
before having the surgery.
Yes.
Yeah. Because obviously, for triple negative means that chemo probably is the only way first.
Yeah.
To control the spread of the cancer before surgery. So when they're telling you all these things, when did you think, I've had enough? Because I know people sort of decide that they're not going to fight, they're just going to make the best of the time they have and then go out. What made you make that decision to fight?
I think I was born a fighter.
Like
that's the only way I can explain it. I don't know that I've given up on things. Maybe I have, but one of the things that I would say about myself is I have a bounce back ability. I don't wear the fact that I'm resilient as a label. It's just who I am naturally. So when I was told, I told you the question that I asked. I was asking questions. questions about, what does triple negative mean? When do we start treatment? With this kind of cancer, what is their success rate? So the oncology team, that had been that the oncologist was planning to put together, what is their success rate? So it never crossed my mind that I wouldn't survive.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm like, okay, what is your success rate? And in my head, I'm thinking, if it's 50%, then I'm going to be in that 50. So I would say my mindset, generally as a person and going in, kind of helped me. So I never once thought, like, this is enough. I'm like, okay, when do we start? When can we start? Fortunately, I had booked a women's retreat in the Bahamas prior to being told. And I was meant to go a few days after I was told. So I did ask, is it okay to travel? And I was told yes, because it would take 2 weeks to put the team together, the oncology team together, and come up with treatment. They had to start treatment 2 weeks after I was told, because I have an underlying autoimmune condition, which means that I couldn't have radiotherapy. So chemo almost immediately, and then a mastectomy. So I asked questions that would help me understand the process. And fortunately, my husband is a health practitioner. So I just kind of took notes, and then I asked him questions after, and I made sure that my next appointment, he was able to join, ask the relevant questions, because I didn't really know what questions to ask. But at no point did I feel that I'd had enough. No.
Because I think it's a choice that people make when they, and I always say that when it even overcomes people, is because somewhere in their mind they've made a decision that, they've had enough. So I like the fact that you were saying, you know what, this isn't taking me out. And what I think I find particularly, it's not encouraging is the word, but the idea that you were inquisitive and you asked questions and you challenged the practitioners, like, tell me what's your success rate, tell me what's your performance, because I'm going to put my life into your hands, and I need to know that you are good at what you do. And I think sometimes people don't do that. People don't ask, how do you ask a surgeon or a renowned oncologist, like, are you the best? Are you going to give me the best? So I think that's something pivotal for people to know, that yes, they can ask questions. Yes, they can make decisions as to who they're trusting their treatment with. Now, after hearing all of this, how did you share it with your family? If we start with the husband, and then
I think it was easiest with my husband because of he's very calm-natured, and he processes things. He's very objective and logical, right? So it was easier for me to tell him, because I knew that there'd be no. I wasn't dramatic when I found out. In fact, a friend of mine came with me, as I said, Fortune.
You said Fortune.
Yeah, and I actually called her today. So my version of how I reacted, I called her today actually and said, how did I react? Just to make sure I wasn't making things up in my head. And she said exactly the same thing. She said, you were calm, and asked questions, and then I think I kind of shed a tear, but I wasn't dramatic. Tears rolling down. But so I told my my husband, and he's I think his response was, let's see what the team come up with in terms of a treatment plan. It was hard telling like my siblings and then my son. That was the hardest, actually.
I can imagine that must have been, because you almost like choked there remembering what it was like. But
once once like the news is broken, there's just support, and I think they drew strength from the fact that I wasn't freaking out,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I trust, I know mistakes are made in the medical field, but I trusted, I had faith in the system, and I had faith in God as well.
Yes.
And I took all the scriptures that I've learned over the years. I put my faith in God over the years. I have to put it to test now.
Test now.
And it came through for me,
Yeah, I'm going to read something before. I didn't want to bring out your book, but I'm going to read something which it said, in the depths of your encounter with breast cancer, you remain calm, focused, and able to reassure everyone around you. And I celebrate your ability to deal with and dispel fear and anxiety because of your unwavering faith. When the emotions of fear and anxiety were the most natural response you would expect from anyone to have. So this is somebody, your brother, testifying to what you had said, that because you were calm, you almost sort of gave solace to all of them, saying, you know what, I believe God is going to do it. And I think that is what is needed fundamentally when our faith is challenged. We're not necessarily relying on somebody else's faith to see us through. We're standing in our faith and saying, well, if he says he can do it, then he's going to, and he's done it before, so he's going to do it now. And I think when we hear, cancer, we just go to the person dying and being unwell and all of that. I think what also struck me in the book is that you reminded us that it impacts all our relationships. It impacts the person because they might not be able to support their family anymore if they're the main breadwinner, if they're contributing. So it can impact finances. It can impact the marriage, because this is the real test for sickness, in sickness and in health. And then, the extended family. So how do people, or how did you manage these two things? Because like work, you can be signed off sick if you're fortunate enough, but there's some people who don't have those kind of jobs, and we forget that cancer it sort of affects everything around us. It's just not that isolated incident.
It's disruptive. And I can, although I wasn't in that place, I worked for a company that supports you in times like this. I did go through a phase though where I'd been off for so long, and my pay had to stop for a period of time. But that was never really an issue for me. Because when you're faced with this, survival and beating this thing is more important than anything else. Because, when it comes down to it, if I'm, by being alive, there are opportunities for me to work and make money. Where I would consider myself blessed as well by virtue of where I live. I live in England, where, there's healthcare regardless of the state of it. There's benefits for those, who can't work, but my heart goes out to, like people in other parts of the world who don't necessarily have these benefits. But the mindset that we have to going into this, survive this, to beat this, then if you can beat this, then at some point you'd be able to get back on your feet and work. And then on the issue of relationships, I would say I was fortunate with my family. I went through and friends. I went through times where it was a struggle for me to get by. I would be irritable, and they bore with me. They were patient with me, and they never really complained once. They never said anything. Maybe they were feeling like, she's been a pain in the backside, but no one ever told me that.
No one complained. So yes, because even when you read your book, you can see that you had really good support. And you had mentioned earlier that you had bereavement counseling after you lost your parents and your sister, and your son had counseling just to help him reconcile, because he's an only child, and I know you're incredibly close. So this news mom had, and he found counseling useful. I think both of you have.
He did, yes. I actually didn't realize until I asked him how, and I wanted him to say something in his own words for the book. That's the only time I realized. But I didn't know that his manager had died from breast cancer, so he was naturally, he would be worried. I didn't actually know about counseling until he wrote it down, and I wanted his contribution to be in his own words, not mine.
Okay. Yeah, it was great. And it's wonderful to see that a young man can feel that he needed that, and made a decision to do that, and he found it useful. I think why I'm bringing it up is that, of course, sometimes we have this thing of taking it on the chin, and sort of taking everything in. But I was really encouraged when I read that part that, wow, he went out and sought counseling. And I'm even more impressed, because it wasn't something that you had to encourage him to do.
No, I wasn't even aware. So it's okay for men and women to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a part of life.
Yes, and to seek help when they're challenged.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go back to your treatment. A lot of it, your book always says, I'm alone, but I'm not alone.
Yeah.
So would you want let's talk about why you were alone.
Okay. Right. So up until the 23rd of March, which most people in the UK would be familiar with that date, I actually wasn't alone. I had so when I was given my start date for my treatment, the organized person that I am, I put together a spreadsheet, a schedule of my treatment plan. And I sent out email to my family and friends, and I handpicked certain friends because I know that some friends have young kids, they have other commitments, so it's a huge commitment to actually come away from your life, your daily lives, and spend 2-3 days as a chaperone. So I put together a plan, and I sent out an email to friends and family to say, here's my plan, here are my treatment days, pick a day that works for you. In less than 24 hours, this sheet was oversubscribed.
Yeah.
I had more people coming forward to help than I needed. So I had people come from all over the world, Ghana, Nigeria, California as well, and then parts of the UK. And I, up until March 23rd, which was, the lockdown, I was fine. I had, I had people accompany me for my treatment. But after that, I was actually by myself for 2.5 months, because there was a lockdown. My husband's working abroad. My son's in Scotland. Friends and family could not come to the house. So I was basically shielding for that long. So although I was by myself, I was alone, I never really felt, I didn't feel alone. I didn't feel like something was missing. I got on with my days when I could. And, you know, I would say that praise was my weapon. So, I mean, I'm not one who watches TV very much, but I, you know, like all day I would have, you know, like praise and worship just kind of playing in the background, because, you know, like being by myself, you know, I could sink into a low. You know, depression and anxiety is common with, you know, like cancer patients or warriors, I would say. So yes, I was alone, but I didn't feel lonely. I think that's the best way I can actually describe it.
Okay, so you were alone physically?
Yes, but spiritually I wasn't.
Spiritually, you were not alone.
Mentally, I wasn't, and I found ways to kind of busy myself.
Yeah, the best. And of course, I'm sure people were checking in on various video calls and all of that. Yeah, but I think the when we journey through life, most of the adversities can't be shared. Yeah, we're always alone, no matter. So whether we have 10 people around us or nobody, at some point, you know, it's just you and what you're going through. And I think that's when God really shows up. Yes. Yeah, he really shows up then, because there isn't any noise, there are no distractions, and there's nobody else meeting your need. So he really shows up.
Yeah. And, you know, like when, you know, the way I would kind of describe that is I was emptied of myself completely. You know, and this is actually literally sometimes, you know, for like 2 days, I would lie on the couch because it's close, the living room's closer to the kitchen. So I just have things all around me so that, you know, I wouldn't struggle. So I was completely emptied of myself. And then I know that if I needed strength for just the next hour, and I pray for that strength, and I would get by. And then I'm like, okay, the next hour, I just need to get through the next. And I didn't wish for nighttime, or at nighttime, I didn't wish for dawn. I was just grateful for each hour that passed. You know? And then, you know, God kind of showed up in so many different ways that I felt I didn't feel like something was up emotionally, or, you know, of course, you know, I was going through the treatment and the side effects, and, you know, I had an infection at one time. You know, my white blood count was too low to have chemo. You know, I was hospitalized twice. All in the midst of COVID. But, you know, it's just, for me, it was just one thing after the next I had to deal with, you know.
Let's talk about the mental impact. I know you sort of balanced it out with having praise and then people constantly checking up, but not everybody would have had the capacity to deal with it the way that you have. And people will slip into this quite low moods, even depression, or become very angry. How do you think they can manage it? Because I know you use praise, because you said praise was your weapon. And that would be, I'm sure loads of women who have had it, are watching us. Or even people who are supporting people who are going through the journey. So praise is one way. Is there another way they can sort of manage? Because the physical is in trouble now, you know. They're unwell, and as you said, you were just praying, God, just let me have strength for another hour. And this is day after day, you know. it's not like I'm having a bad day today and it's, it will get better in a few days, but tomorrow will probably feel like today.
Yeah.
So how do you think people can manage those moments better?
Yeah, so I would say, like to start with, I mean, it's a tough news or thing to deal with. I would say, the mindset going in is really important, right? So that positive, as much as you can, that positive mindset is really important. And, sometimes we have, like limiting beliefs like, oh, I can't do this, I'm not strong. We are stronger than we think we are. So rather than that, replace that with empowering beliefs. I can do this. I will try at least. And then another thing is, like reaching out. Just reach out to people for help. That I think there's so many groups. I actually registered with Macmillan. The Macmillan group, they have a local group here. So there are many support groups, that are available, either people to call. There's support groups online. Facebook has many cancer support groups, and you would be amazed at, like the sorts of help that, people are looking for. So, I was fortunate. I was surrounded with all of that. However, I would say reach out. Don't go it alone. And the health team, the healthcare team. When I was going through treatment, there was a 24-hour breast cancer line, and that's something I actually didn't mention. Sometimes in the middle of the night, if I'm feeling uncomfortable, and I'm not sure what it is, I would call them and they would assure me that, everything's fine, or they tell you what to do. So I would say take advantage of the resources that are available. The healthcare team, anyone who's going through cancer, especially in the UK, I'm speaking about the UK now. There's the 24-hour line, there's support groups. I mean, these social media groups are global. So even if you're not based in the UK or the US, and you can join and just ask, reach out to people, and it's okay to talk. I think we come from a culture that keeps these sorts of things a secret, or you don't say the word. They would say the C word rather than cancer. Cancer is cancer. The C word. And it's not a sentence. It's not a death sentence. Not to say it doesn't. That's not the outcome. Sometimes, of course it is. I would say be okay with asking for help, and you'd be amazed. I actually joined a life group during the pandemic, because of course church shut down, and I'd never met these people, and they would drop food at my front door, bake me a cake. My neighbors would knock on the door and say, do you want anything? You just get help from everywhere. So if we don't ask, we don't get. Yeah.
Thank you. When did you decide to write a journal? Maybe I should start with that.
Okay. So I actually journal anyway. So prior to this, I've journaled for years. I love to write. Anyone who knows me knows I love pens and I love notebooks. As much as I work in tech, I actually love pens and notebooks. So I like to put my thoughts down on paper. So when I was on the train coming to Manchester to actually start my treatment, I actually journal. I started, this journey, on the train, and it was a release for me to kind of put my thoughts down on paper. It could be a prayer, it could be a thought, it could be like a moan, I just put it down. But during treatment, I wouldn't say that I journaled every day. And sometimes where I couldn't, I would actually do an audio entry.
Okay. Because actually when my clients, one thing I suggest, because I journal a lot as well, I tell them it's a way to release some of the things, especially if sometimes we can't express those things to other people, or we don't even have the words, but we can write them. We may not be able to say them, but we can write them. And did you ever think it will be a book, or you were at that point?
I didn't.
Normally.
No, so I started in November, this particular journey, and I think maybe around February time, I use a tool called Day One. It's an online journal. It's an app on the phone and on the laptop, and I noticed it had a book feature. So, some days, like one time I went to the first time I was able to go out, I went to the Peak District because I love nature. And I was like, wow, this is so beautiful. And then that day I actually saw a feature in this tool to create a book from my journal. And I did, but I didn't print. I didn't go ahead with printing. And I thought, actually, this could be a book. So I think it was end of January, early February, I decided. So I was more intentional about my writing. I mean, like I said, I didn't journal every day. And in some days, I'm like, my entry is, God help me today. And that, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was end of January, early Feb, I decided it would be a book.
All right. And I didn't talk about the book because I wanted you to talk about how you decided a name, so you can do your book.
Okay. All right. So when I started the journal, I heard the name for that particular journey was Still She Stands, which I'm standing despite despite what's going on in my life, I'm still standing, right? And the name came about. I was reading a devotional and by, I think it was Rick Warren, and he said, sometimes we go through turbulent times. The storm may stay, however, know who's with you in the boat. And like Jesus is with you in the boat. So I'm like, regardless of the raging storm, I'm still standing. So that in my mind for a long time, that was the name, the title of the book. And then when some people found out that I'd been diagnosed with cancer, the first question that people would ask would be, did you lose your hair? Oh, because I had long, beautiful hair, right? Yeah. And oh my God, did you lose your hair? Will you lose your hair? Did you lose your eyebrows? And I'm like, what kind of a question is that? And then I thought, you know what? I'm actually more than my hair. I'm more than just my hair. I'm many more things than my hair. And that's when the name came about. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I didn't know why you had called it, but I just imagined that, you standing in the mirror and thinking, I'm bigger than this and bigger than this hair.
I know.
And it sort of resonates with what you shared, because I can understand that, because people always go on about my hair. So what you were saying is that there's more to me than this hair.
Hair, and the fact that I've gone bald. I mean, the hair's growing now. I was bald for a while, for a long time actually, because it's really quick. It's really amazing how chemo, how fast acting it is. So yeah, I mean, for me, it was really strange that people would ask that question first, as opposed to, you know, how you doing, how you coping. But then people don't know what to say. So I'm not going to blame people for leading, you know, with that question. Yeah, that was why I named it that.
Okay. Are you going to put the book up, or should I? I found my copy.
Okay,
I'll do it together.
Yeah. It's cool. Problems with my hair.
Yes. Okay. We're doing it again. I'm doing it
So
again.
you can get it from Amazon.
Amazon. Okay.
Yeah, so Amazon.co.uk or Amazon.com. It's in both marketplaces.
All right.
And in Canada and, you know, North America and Europe as well.
Okay. What are you planning, or no, not what you're planning? What do you intend for it to achieve?
I would like to inspire. I would like to inspire. I like people to be inspired through my story. And, you know, I'm actually, a number of people have messaged me or called me to say, I got the book today, I finished it. So many people have actually called, and they're truly inspired. And that's, and even before the book, I had always believed that it's my life's purpose to inspire people through my life experiences. So that kind of is the reason why, you know, I love to mentor people, either life, you know, like you read in my bio, life, business, or career. I believe it's a gift that I have to inspire people, to motivate people, to encourage people. So I bared out my heart and my pain and everything in the book. And, you know, it shows that, you know, we're all real, we're human. And, you know, I would like for people to be inspired, you know, to stand and keep standing in the midst of adversity, because that actually builds strength of character. It builds you as a person, you know, and you know, when you're resilient in one area of your life, you know, it actually, it's, you know, it's like a ripple effect. You know?
I think one thing I liked about the book was that it was reflective, and then it asked the reader questions. I also had that, I think. In the middle of the night, I had to tell myself, you know, you have clients in the morning, you need to put this book down, go to sleep. So yes, it is inspiring. But what I liked was the questioning and the time that the reader also has to reflect. So it's not only readers who are suffering or had been in the fight, but even us could use some of those questions and reflect. And what I liked was there was really this Thanksgiving, this attitude of Thanksgiving, you know, even though it was a struggle, it'd be like, okay, thank you for this next hour, you know, thank you that I made it through today. So we're sort of coming to the end. What would you like to leave us with?
I would say adversity, I think we touched on this at the beginning. Challenges, adversity happens to anyone. And whether you're a believer or not, it makes no difference. We just need to kind of get out of our way and step out of our limiting beliefs about what we can and can't do. And there's power in words. So we have to be, and you know, it's, for me, it's something that I remind myself of daily. Be intentional about your words, and be intentional about how you live, right? So I remember when I actually went and cut my hair before I started treatment, looking back on the videos, I was actually declaring that I was victorious. We went back and watched the videos, and I'm like, wow, this is what I was saying. So it's no surprise that I'm here, you know, today. So, you know, let's be mindful of our words and, you know, just kind of be the best that we've been called to be, adversity or otherwise. Yeah.
Thank you, Ego, for coming, sharing your story, which everyone has, I'm sure, has found inspirational. You can't see this, but I can see the comments going up, and even people asking if your book is on Amazon. So I'm going to lift the book again.
Okay.
It's called More Than My Hair.
More than just my hair.
More Than Just My Hair. Journeying through cancer and choosing faith over fear. And it's on Amazon. Thank you again, Ego.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll be back to tell us the end. We already know the end of the story, but it'll be good to see you.
Yeah, that's
another time. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for watching. I'm sure you were all inspired by Ego, but please do not forget there are many other women. This month is Breast Awareness Month. Give something. Reach out and touch somebody you may know or may not know. Make donations. And remember, we will always triumph over adversity. Thank you for watching. My name is Lydia Khalil, and I will see you same time next week.
LCBN television broadcasts 24/7 on UK Freeview channel 271, Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Google TV, See Love World, LCBNTV.com, LifeComTV.com.
Standing in the middle of a grass field in the British countryside is the perfect setting to introduce this new and exciting brand launched by the Giving Stream Limited called Your Farmer. Direct from British farms, Your Farmer have a variety of products available. Whether it's a butchery product, diced meats, mince meat, sausages or burgers, or if you're looking for oven-ready products that's been slow cooked by a team of qualified chefs, a variety of potato dishes or vegetable dishes in both a single portion or a family range, Your Farmer has everything you're looking for. British agriculture is so important, and that's why every ingredient Your Farmer use is sourced from British producers grown on farms just like this in the UK. 7 days a week, 365 days a year, our farmers work hard to produce an excellent tasting product. Using high welfare farming methods, free range, grass-fed beef and lamb as an example produces a high quality product. Your Farmer are proud of where they source the ingredients from, so much so that they've bespoke built a footprint system so you, the consumer, can trace every ingredient within the meal right back to the British producer. One simple scan using the Your Farmer app or by simply opening the camera on your phone, scan the packaging, and this allows you to trace every ingredient within the meals or within the butchery products straight back to the British producer so you know where your food has come from. The Your Farmer brand has a conscience. As well as supporting British agriculture, the brand has pledged its support to help support people that are living in food crisis here in the UK. Every time a butchery product is sold, a packet of sausages as an example, or every time a farm finest meal is sold, a free meal is then donated to help feed somebody in food crisis. Now, the brand benchmarks its prices against major retailers, so you, the consumer, are not paying for this. This is all done through the profits of the brand. But without your custom, we are unable to offer this support. So if you're an individual consumer looking to do a family shop, or you're a buyer of a commercial or government department, buy your farmer. As well as putting great tasting products on the table, you're supporting British agriculture, which is so important, and you're also helping to feed families in food crisis, which is equally important. So go to the store, check it out, download the app for free. This is a nationwide service and you will not be disappointed. Thank you very much for watching this video.